There's a unique kind of pain that doesn't just sting for a moment, but lingers deep within your soul. It's the pain of betrayal by someone you trusted, someone you believed would never hurt you. This isn't the pain caused by a stranger or a distant acquaintance. No, this is far more personal. It's the friend who promised loyalty but spoke ill of you when your back was turned. It's the relative who ridiculed your dreams instead of supporting them. It's the partner who took your heart in their hands only to break it into pieces. This pain is different because it shakes the foundation of everything you believed in. You lie awake at night replaying their words, their actions, wondering what you did to deserve such treatment. You question your worth, your choices, even your purpose. The hurt becomes a weight that you carry silently, unable to express the depth of your anguish because you fear no one would truly understand. And worse, the person who inflicted the pain, they seem to carry on with their life as if nothing happened, as if the destruction they caused didn't matter. But here's where it gets interesting. Pain, especially this kind of pain, has a way of becoming a mirror. It doesn't just reflect your suffering, it reflects their character. It reveals who they truly are and sets into motion a series of events that are both inevitable and just. You may not see it immediately, but the universe has a way of balancing the scales. Call it karma, call it divine justice, or call it the natural law of cause and effect, whatever name you give it. The truth is undeniable. Those who hurt others cannot escape the consequences of their actions. Think about it. Have you ever noticed how people who betray trust often find themselves struggling with loneliness? Or how those who ridicule others' dreams never achieve their own? Life has a strange way of making sure that every seed a person sows, they eventually reap. And while it may feel like they're walking away scot-free, rest assured the pain they gave you will eventually become their lesson. But why does this happen? Because pain isn't just a tool for growth, it's also a teacher. When someone inflicts pain on another, they are unknowingly signing up for a course in accountability. Life will place them in situations where they must confront the harm they've caused, where they must feel the weight of their choices. The friend who betrayed you will one day feel the sting of betrayal themselves. The relative who mocked you will face doubts and insecurities of their own. The partner who broke you will understand what it feels like to be broken. And this isn't about revenge or wishing ill upon anyone. It's about the natural balance of life. You see, when people hurt others, they're often acting from a place of weakness. They project their own fears, insecurities, and failures onto you because they can't face them within themselves. But life has a way of forcing them to look in the mirror. They may try to run to distract themselves, but sooner or later, they'll have to confront the truth. Now, let's talk about you, the one who has been hurt. Your pain is real, and it's valid. But here's something you need to hear. Your pain is not permanent. It's not the end of your story. In fact, it's the beginning of a powerful transformation. The tears you've shed are not wasted. They are watering the seeds of growth within you. The nights you've spent questioning your worth are not in vain. They're building resilience. And the ache you feel in your heart, that's the space being created for something better to enter your life. Imagine this. While they are busy learning their lesson, you are free to heal. You are free to let go of the bitterness, to rise above the hurt, to become stronger and wiser than ever before. Picture yourself walking away from the pain, unburdened and unshackled, while they remain trapped in the web of their own making. Your healing is your victory, and it's a victory they cannot take from you. So the question isn't whether they'll face the consequences of their actions. That's a certainty. The question is, what will you do with your pain? Will you let it define you, or will you let it refine you? Will you hold on to resentment, or will you choose freedom? Because make no mistake, the freedom to heal, to grow, and to thrive despite what they've done, that is your ultimate power. They start losing the trust of others. Trust is a delicate thing, easy to shatter, but nearly impossible to rebuild. When someone chooses to betray or hurt another, they often underestimate the ripple effects of their actions. They think they can deceive, manipulate, or harm someone without it impacting their standing in the eyes of others. But trust doesn't operate in isolation. It's woven into the fabric of relationships, and when it's broken in one place, it often begins to unravel everywhere. Consider this: people are perceptive. They may not always vocalize it, but they observe patterns of behavior. If someone has betrayed your trust, it's likely not the first time they've done so, and it won't be the last. Over time, their actions create a reputation, a shadow that follows them wherever they go. Friends, family, colleagues, everyone begins to notice the inconsistencies, the lies, and the lack of accountability. Slowly but surely, people begin to withdraw. They hesitate to confide, to rely, or to connect. The pain they cause you doesn't just remain between you and them. It radiates outward. The person who once seemed charismatic or trustworthy now carries the stain of betrayal. Those around them start to question, if they could do this to someone close, what would stop them from doing it to me? Suspicion grows, and with it, their social circle begins to shrink. The trust they once took for granted is no longer there, and they are left to navigate a world that mirrors their own actions. Think of a friend who has repeatedly betrayed others. Eventually their friendships dissolve. Or a colleague who manipulates coworkers. Soon, no one wants to collaborate with them. Even family members, bound by blood, grow wary and begin to keep their distance. This isolation is not an accident. It's a direct consequence of the choices they've made, the trust they've broken, and the pain they've inflicted. Now imagine what it feels like for them to face the repercussions. To walk into a room and sense the discomfort, to reach out for support and find no one there. They are left to confront the reality of their actions, not through words but through the silence of those who no longer trust them. This is their lesson, a painful realization that trust is a currency that cannot be squandered. And while they struggle to rebuild what they've lost, you, the one they hurt, can take solace in knowing that their actions carry consequences. They struggle with the same hurt they caused you. Life has a way of evening the score, and often it does so in the most poetic ways. Those who have caused pain eventually find themselves in a situation where they experience the very hurt they inflicted on others. It's as if the universe orchestrates a scenario tailor-made to show them what it feels like to be on the receiving end of their actions. You think about the friend who turned their back on you in your time of need. One day they find themselves in a moment of vulnerability, reaching out for help, and no one answers. Or the family member who ridiculed your dreams and choices. Suddenly they face a situation where their own aspirations are met with scorn or disbelief. The partner who shattered your trust, they eventually encounter someone who treats their heart with the same carelessness they once showed yours. This is not about vengeance or wishing harm on anyone. It's about understanding that pain has a way of cycling back. The universe doesn't forget the energy people put out into the world. When someone sows seeds of hurt, betrayal, or neglect, they are bound to reap the same in some form. And when this happens, it's not a punishment, it's a lesson. It forces them to walk in your shoes, to feel the weight of the pain they once dismissed or justified. What makes this lesson so profound is that it often arrives when they least expect it. They may have moved on, convinced that their actions have no consequences, only to be blindsided by a situation that mirrors the hurt they caused. In that moment, they begin to understand. The tears they once ignored now fall from their own eyes. The loneliness they dismissed now becomes their own reality. The betrayal they brushed aside now cuts them just as deeply. And while they grapple with this newfound understanding, something extraordinary happens. They begin to reflect. For the first time, they see the situation not from their perspective, but from yours. They start to connect the dots between their actions and the pain they are now enduring. This moment of clarity, though painful for them, is crucial. It's the beginning of transformation, not necessarily for your sake, but for theirs. As they struggle with the same hurt they caused you, you in turn have the opportunity to grow. You've been through the fire, and now you can rise from it. While they are stuck in the cycle of their own making, you have the freedom to move forward, stronger and more resilient than ever. They can't escape their own conscience. No matter how people try to justify their actions, no matter how skillfully they construct excuses, they cannot escape the quiet voice of their own conscience. The conscience is relentless. It doesn't forget, it doesn't forgive, and it doesn't allow them to rest. Even if the person who caused you pain appears unaffected on the surface, deep within, they are grappling with an unease that cannot be silenced. Imagine them lying awake at night, their mind replaying the moments when they wronged you. Perhaps they mocked your dreams, dismissed your struggles, or exploited your trust. During the day, they may distract themselves with work, social media, or meaningless interactions, but in the silence of the night, there is no escape. The whispers of their conscience grow louder, reminding them of their actions and the impact they had on you. They begin to ask themselves questions they can't answer. Why did I do that? What if I had made a different choice? What kind of person does this make me? This inner turmoil doesn't fade, it grows stronger with time. While they may have dismissed your feelings initially, thinking they could move on unscathed, the weight of their conscience is inescapable. They are haunted by memories of your tears, your pain, and your silence. Even the smallest reminders, a song, a photograph, or a passing conversation can trigger guilt so profound it feels like a physical ache. From a spiritual perspective, this is the divine mechanism at work. As it says in Scripture, do not be deceived, God cannot be mocked. A man reaps what he sows, Galatians 6:7. Their conscience is not merely a psychological phenomenon. It is a tool of divine justice, a reminder that their actions carry spiritual consequences. The guilt they feel is not arbitrary, it is the universe nudging them toward repentance, toward acknowledging the harm they've caused. While they wrestle with their conscience, you too are part of this spiritual balance. Your pain was seen, your cries were heard, and the same divine hand that allowed you to endure now compels them to reflect. This is not about punishment, but transformation. Their guilt is a seed, one that, if nurtured, can grow into accountability, humility, and perhaps even change. And while their struggle is private, it is no less real. They may smile in public, but behind closed doors, they face the relentless reminder that they hurt someone who trusted them. This battle with their conscience is their burden to bear. And while they navigate this inner conflict, you are free to focus on your healing. The very pain that caused you has become the mirror forcing them to confront the truth about themselves. This is their lesson, and it's one they cannot escape. Their relationships begin to crumble. When someone betrays or hurts others, it's rarely an isolated incident. Their behavior is often a reflection of deeper issues, selfishness, insecurity, or a disregard for others' feelings. These traits don't just surface in one relationship, they seep into every connection they have. Over time, their actions begin to poison even the most stable relationships in their lives. Picture this: the person who caused you pain now finds themselves at odds with the people they once relied on. The charm they once used to mask their intentions no longer works. Friends who once defended them grow distant, noticing the patterns of manipulation and deceit. Family members who might have once overlooked their flaws start to draw boundaries, unwilling to tolerate the behavior any longer. Even their closest allies begin to see the cracks in their character, and the relationships they once took for granted start to fall apart. This isn't a coincidence. It's the natural consequence of how they've chosen to treat others. People can only endure so much before they begin to protect themselves. Just as you reached a breaking point, so will others. Their betrayal of you was not an isolated incident. It was part of a larger pattern that eventually catches up with them. And as their relationships crumble, they are left to face a harsh reality. They are the common denominator in their own isolation. Spiritually, this is a moment of reckoning. As it is written, whoever digs a pit will fall into it. If someone rolls a stone, it will roll back on them. Proverbs 26:27. The harm they inflicted on you becomes the very foundation of their own loneliness. They may try to deny it, blame others, or even double down on their behavior, but the truth remains: the pain they caused others has created a ripple effect, one that now surrounds them on all sides. What's most striking is how they begin to notice the patterns but feel powerless to stop them. They may wonder why friends no longer return their calls, why family gatherings feel colder, or why their romantic relationships are marked by tension and distrust. They may even try to repair some of these bonds, but the seeds of doubt they've planted make it difficult for others to fully open up to them again. Trust, once broken, is not easily rebuilt. This crumbling of their relationships is both a consequence and a lesson. It forces them to confront the reality of their behavior, to see the pain they've caused reflected back at them through the actions of others. It's not about revenge, it's about accountability. And while they navigate this storm, you are free to walk away, unburdened by the chaos they've created. Your healing is not dependent on their realization. but it is a powerful reminder that the pain you endured was not for nothing. As their relationships crumble, you are reminded that life has a way of revealing the truth. And while they face the consequences of their actions, you are free to rebuild, to find peace, and to surround yourself with people who truly value and respect you. They face unexplainable setbacks. Life has a way of balancing the scales, often in ways that are both subtle and profound. When someone causes pain to others, especially to those who trusted them, it's as though the universe takes note. Over time, they begin to encounter unexplainable setbacks, moments where their plans fail, their efforts fall short, and their successes are thwarted by forces beyond their control. These aren't mere coincidences, they are the manifestation of the energy they've put into the world coming back to them. Imagine this: the person who once caused you harm, who seemed so untouchable in their arrogance, suddenly finds themselves struggling in areas they once dominated. Their career, which once seemed secure, begins to falter. Promotions slip through their fingers, opportunities dry up, and projects they were confident in suddenly fall apart. Relationships they relied on for support grow strained, and even their health may begin to show signs of wear. It feels as though every aspect of their life is facing resistance, and no matter how hard they try, they cannot seem to regain control. These setbacks are not random. They are deeply connected to the choices they've made and the pain they've caused. When someone builds their life on a foundation of betrayal, manipulation, or selfishness, cracks eventually begin to appear. What they once thought was solid ground turns into quicksand, pulling them deeper into struggles they cannot easily escape. It's as though the universe is forcing them to pause and reflect, to confront the consequences of their actions head-on. Spiritually, this is a significant moment of reckoning. As it says in Scripture, "He who sows injustice will reap calamity." Proverbs 22:8. The setbacks they face are not mere punishments, but opportunities for growth. They are reminders that their actions have consequences, not just for those they hurt, but for their own lives as well. These moments are meant to strip away the illusions they've clung to, forcing them to acknowledge the harm they've done and the imbalance they've created. What makes these setbacks so profound is the way they unfold. They often come at moments when the person is most confident, most assured of their success. It's in these moments that they are blindsided by failure, by loss, by disappointment. This sudden reversal of fortune is not accidental. It is the universe's way of teaching humility. It's a reminder that no one is above accountability, that no amount of arrogance or self-justification can shield someone from the natural laws of life. As they face these setbacks, an internal struggle begins to unfold. They question their abilities, their decisions, and their worth. The confidence they once displayed so boldly begins to waver. They may even begin to feel the weight of guilt, connecting the dots between their actions and the consequences they are now facing. This realization is often painful, as it forces them to confront parts of themselves they've long ignored or suppressed. The very pain they dismissed in others now becomes their own reality, and it cannot be escaped. For those who caused you pain, these setbacks are a turning point. They are faced with a choice: to continue down the same destructive path, or to take responsibility and make amends. Some may choose the latter, seeking forgiveness and striving to change. Others may resist, blaming external forces or clinging to their old ways. But regardless of their reaction, the lesson remains the same. Life will not allow them to move forward without addressing the harm they've caused. From your perspective, these setbacks serve as a powerful reminder of the justice inherent in the universe. It's not about celebrating their struggles or wishing harm upon them. It's about understanding that the pain you endured was not in vain. The setbacks they face are a reflection of the energy they put into the world, a confirmation that the balance of life is always at work. And while they grapple with their failures, you have the freedom to move forward, unburdened by the weight of their actions. What's important to note is that these setbacks are not necessarily the end of their journey. They are an opportunity for transformation, a chance to break free from the patterns that led them to cause pain in the first place. But that transformation is not your responsibility, it's theirs. Your role is to heal, to grow, and to focus on the future you deserve. As they struggle with unexplainable setbacks, remember this: you are not defined by the pain they caused. You are not trapped by their actions or their consequences. Instead, you are free to rise above it all, to use your experiences as fuel for growth and strength. Their setbacks are their lesson, and your healing is your victory. The universe sees all, and it ensures that no action goes unnoticed. Trust in that balance and trust in your ability to move forward with grace and resilience. They seek your forgiveness. There comes a moment in the journey of those who have caused pain when the weight of their actions becomes unbearable. The guilt they've carried, the setbacks they faced, and the broken relationships that surround them all converge into a single realization: they were wrong. They may have justified their actions for a time, convincing themselves that their behavior was necessary or insignificant, but eventually they cannot escape the truth. And in that moment, they turn to the very person they hurt you, seeking forgiveness. This is not an easy step for them. Asking for forgiveness requires a level of humility they are often unprepared for. It means admitting their faults, acknowledging the pain they caused, and placing themselves in a vulnerable position. For someone who may have lived their life avoiding accountability or masking their guilt with pride, this act of seeking your forgiveness is monumental. It is their way of saying, I can no longer carry this burden alone. But why do they seek your forgiveness? What drives them to confront you after everything that happened? The answer lies in the nature of guilt and the human spirit. Guilt is like a shadow that follows them everywhere. It whispers to them in the quiet moments, reminding them of their wrongs. It seeps into their thoughts, coloring their interactions and decisions. Over time, this guilt becomes too heavy to bear, and they realize that the only way to lighten the load is to seek reconciliation. From a spiritual perspective, this act is deeply significant. As it says in Scripture, therefore, if you are offering your gift at the altar and there remember that your brother or sister has something against you, leave your gift there in front of the altar. First go and be reconciled to them, then come and offer your gift, Matthew 5:23-24. Forgiveness is not just a moral obligation, it is a spiritual act that restores balance. When they seek your forgiveness, it is often because they feel an inner compulsion to make things right, not just with you, but within themselves. Their approach may vary. Some may come to you with tears, openly confessing their wrongs and begging for your forgiveness. Others may be more guarded, offering vague apologies or testing the waters to see if you're even willing to speak to them. And then there are those who, burdened by their own shame, can barely bring themselves to meet your eyes but still find a way to say, I'm sorry. Regardless of how they approach you, the act of seeking forgiveness is a reflection of the lesson they've learned. They now understand the depth of the pain they caused and feel compelled to address it. However, their request for forgiveness is not always pure. For some, it may be a genuine desire to right their wrongs and heal the wounds and heal the wrongs. But for others, it may stem from a need to ease their own conscience, to rid themselves of the guilt that haunts them. They may not fully grasp the impact of their actions, but they know they need your absolution to move forward. This is where your role becomes crucial, not as a gatekeeper of forgiveness, but as someone who has the power to choose how to respond. Forgiveness does not mean forgetting, nor does it mean condoning their behavior. It means freeing yourself from the chains of bitterness and resentment. It means saying, I will no longer let your actions define my life. Whether you choose to offer forgiveness or not, the act itself is about your healing, not theirs. For them, seeking forgiveness is part of their journey. It is a humbling experience that forces them to confront their own humanity. They must come to terms with the fact that their actions had real consequences, not just for you, but for themselves. This process often leads to deep self-reflection and, in some cases, lasting change. They begin to see the world differently, understanding the value of trust, the importance of kindness, and the impact of their choices. Yet, seeking your forgiveness is not the end of their lesson, it's just the beginning. True transformation comes not from the words they speak, but from the actions they take moving forward. Will they live differently? Will they treat others with the respect and compassion they failed to show you? These are the questions they must answer for themselves. Their journey does not end with your forgiveness, it begins with their willingness to grow and change. For you, their request for forgiveness can be both validating and challenging. It is a recognition of the pain you endured, an acknowledgement that you were wronged. But it can also stir up old wounds, reminding you of the hurt you've worked so hard to heal. In these moments, it's important to remember that forgiveness is not about them, it's about you. It's about reclaiming your power, your peace, and your future. As they seek your forgiveness, they are faced with the undeniable truth. The pain they caused you has become their lesson. It has humbled them, shaped them, and forced them to confront the consequences of their actions. And while their journey is far from over, this act of seeking your forgiveness is a pivotal step in their transformation. Meanwhile, you stand at the crossroads of your own healing, ready to move forward with strength, grace, and the knowledge that you are no longer defined by their actions. They witness your growth and regret their actions. There is a powerful moment in life when the person who caused you pain is forced to confront a truth they cannot escape. You have grown beyond the hurt they inflicted. They see you flourishing, rising from the ashes of their betrayal, and the sight of your transformation fills them with a deep sense of regret. This is not the kind of regret born of pity or fleeting sorrow. It is the profound realization that their actions contributed to a story they never anticipated. While they expected you to crumble, to be broken under the weight of the pain they caused, they are now faced with a vision of someone stronger, wiser, and more resilient than ever before. At first, they may not recognize the transformation in you. They may dismiss your success as luck or coincidence, but over time, it becomes impossible to ignore. They see how you've reclaimed your life, how you've turned pain into purpose, and how you've built a foundation that no one can shake. This realization is like a mirror reflecting their own inadequacies and mistakes, forcing them to confront the choices they made and the consequences of those choices. Imagine the person who once doubted your dreams seeing you achieve milestones they thought were beyond your reach. They might see you celebrated in your career, surrounded by genuine relationships, or simply radiating a peace they have yet to find. For them, it is a moment of reckoning, as they are reminded of how they contributed to your struggles. Perhaps they mocked your aspirations or dismissed your efforts, only to watch you rise to heights they never imagined. This stark contrast between their expectations and your reality becomes a source of deep regret, a regret they carry silently but cannot escape. Regret is a powerful force. It lingers in the quiet moments when they are alone with their thoughts. They replay the memories of their actions, the harsh words, the betrayal, the neglect, and wonder how things could have been different. What if I had supported them instead of tearing them down? What if I had been kinder, more understanding, more loyal? These questions haunt them because the answers are unchangeable. The choices they made in the past cannot be undone, and the pain they caused cannot be erased. From a spiritual perspective, this moment holds profound significance. As it says in Scripture, the Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. Exodus 14:14. Your growth is not just a testament to your resilience, but a reflection of the divine grace that has been with you throughout your journey. While they struggle with regret, you stand as a living reminder of the justice and mercy that governs the universe. Your success is not just a victory for you, it is a declaration that no amount of pain inflicted by others can suppress the purpose God has for your life. For the one who caused your pain, seeing your growth triggers a whirlwind of emotions. They may feel guilt, knowing they played a role in your suffering. They may feel envy, wishing they had the strength to rise as you did. And most painfully, they may feel the loss of the relationship they damaged, a loss they cannot mend. They might attempt to reconnect, to apologize, or to make amends, but deep down, they know that some things can never return to the way they were. Their regret becomes their companion, a constant reminder of the opportunities they squandered and the harm they caused. Your growth does more than highlight their mistakes, it also shows them what they could have been. They see in you the strength they lacked, the courage they failed to display, and the wisdom they ignored. This comparison is not something you create, it is something they impose upon themselves. It is the natural consequence of their actions and the lesson they must learn. While they are trapped in the shadow of their regret, you have stepped into the light of your potential, free from the chains of the past. This transformation is not just external, it is deeply internal. Your growth is reflected in the way you carry yourself, the way you interact with the world, and the peace you exude. You no longer react to their actions with anger or bitterness. Instead, you have learned to let go, to release the